Good Monday morning, everyone, and welcome in to today's daily Bible reading for January the 22nd. Today we are reading together in Psalm number 10. Psalm number 10. This psalm here that we know as Psalm number 10 is actually found in some Hebrew manuscripts and in the Septuagint version of the Old Testament, which is the Greek translation of the Hebrew text. It is found connected actually with Psalm number 9, what we know as Psalm number 9. So Psalm number 9, Psalm number 10, actually together in one psalm in these other manuscripts and translations. So that probably tells us that those who dealt with the creation of those manuscripts and translations probably felt as if they went well together or had some other reason for doing so. I think that makes sense once we get through reading this text. We're going to see a number of parallels between these two Psalms as we have in our scriptures, Psalm number 9 and Psalm number 10. A number of parallel themes and thoughts show up between these two Psalms. But even just standing on its own, I think Psalm number 10 has a number of great thoughts for us to consider and meditate upon today. Remember that those who delight in Yahweh's instruction and who meditate it day and night, they are very blessed. And that's certainly what we want to do. We want to take some time reading along today here in Psalm number 10. Thanks so much for taking some time to read along with me today. I know this past week has been a kind of a crazy week, and it stinks that the weather hindered us from being together in person as much as we would like to be. But I hope that everyone remains encouraged, and I hope that we've been able to speak with one another in various ways over the past week or so. And I'm glad to have been able to spend some time with y'all studying online, Zoom, Facebook, YouTube, just taking advantage of the reality that we live in 2024, having these technological advances available to us. We want to take full advantage of that and be thankful for what we were able to do last week, but very much looking forward to the rain and some warmer temperatures, hopefully making everything a lot easier for us to gather this upcoming Wednesday. I know, although with all the melting of the ice and stuff, it's going to make for some pretty sloppy conditions. So everybody, please stay safe and hope that everybody remains well. And we look forward to being together on Wednesday. But for today, we're going to read here, as I mentioned, in Psalm number 10. So let me go and get that text up on the screen for us. And we'll read along together here in Psalm number 10 and verse number 1. Psalm number 10 and verse number 1. So one of the other reasonings that some seem to have for connecting this with Psalm number 9 is the fact um, there is no manuscript subscript within the text like we have in a number of most of the texts we've seen up to this point that have some sort of details to add to the text. Like, for example, back in Psalm number 9, we talked about this being for the choir director, according to Muthlabin, a Psalm of David. We don't have that here in Psalm number 10. So again, that's one reason why people connect this to Psalm number 9. But nonetheless, here's what we have in Psalm number 10, beginning in verse number 1. Psalm number 10, verse number 1, Yahweh, well, why do you stand so far away? Why do you hide in times of trouble? In arrogance, the wicked relentlessly pursue their victims. Let them be caught in the schemes they have devised. For the wicked one boasts about his own cravings. The one who is greedy curses and despises Yahweh. In all his scheming, the wicked person arrogantly thinks, there's no accountability, since there's no God. His ways are always secure. Your lofty judgments have no effect on him. He scoffs at his adversaries. He says to himself, I will never be moved. From generation to generation, I will be without calamity. Cursing, deceit, and violence fill his mouth. Trouble and malice are under his tongue. He waits in ambush near settlements. He kills the innocent in secret places. His eyes are on the lookout for the helpless. He lurks in secret like a lion in a thicket. He lurks in order to seize a victim. He seizes a victim and drags him in his net, for he is oppressed and beaten down. Or excuse me, so, verse number 10, so he is, the victim here, is oppressed and beaten down. Helpless people fall because of the wicked one's strength. He says to himself, God has forgotten. He hides his face and will never see. Rise up, Yahweh God. Lift up your hand. Do not forget the oppressed. Why has the wicked person despised God? He says to himself, you will not demand an account. But you yourself have seen trouble and grief, observing it in order to take the matter into your own hands. The helpless one entrusts himself to you. You are a helper of the fatherless. Break the arm of the wicked, evil person until you look for his wickedness, but it can be found. Yahweh is king forever and ever. The nations will perish from his land. Yahweh, you have heard the desire of the humble. You will strengthen their hearts. You will listen carefully, doing justice for the fatherless and the oppressed, so that mere humans from the earth may terrify them no more. And that is a reading of Psalm number 10. Again, some connect Psalm number 9 with Psalm number 10. Psalm number 9, we remember, is a psalm of thanksgiving for God's justice, a celebration of God's justice. But once we get here to Psalm number 10, we probably do have a bit more of a we'll say a lamenting attitude here within the psalm. There's a lament for the wickedness that the psalmist here, the writer, sees in the world around him, and he is hurt by it. He is disappointed by it. He is discouraged by it, because it seems to him, verse number 10, as if God isn't doing anything. That seems to be his perspective, his human perspective. But what we're going to see as we work through this psalm is by the time we get to verse number 12, the attitude seems to change and improve. And finally, in verse number 16, the proper realization is expressed, uh, understanding what the reality is, that God is not passive, but that God is still very much in control and sovereign in the situation, and he is active in a very real way. So we'll notice that once we get to the end of this text. But beginning in verse number 1, again, laments. There's lament from the author here because of human wickedness, and again, because it seems as if God is passive as evil, wicked people prosper. Yahweh, why do you stand so far away? Why do you hide in times of trouble when bad people are doing bad things? Why does it seem as if you're not doing anything? The wicked are acting arrogantly. They are relentlessly pursuing victims. So God, why not rise up? Rise up and let them be caught in their schemes that they have devised. That sounds very familiar, what we saw in verse number 15 of Psalm number 9. The nations have fallen into the pit they have made. Their foot is caught in the net they have concealed. So again, showing some common thoughts, some parallel themes and thoughts between Psalms 9 and 10. But then beginning in verse number 3 and going through verse number 11, we see the descriptions of the wicked person. These first few verses, verses 3 through 6, I think describe his attitude toward God. And then the remaining verses 7 through 11 seem to describe the absolute lack of care and concern that this wicked person has for his fellow man. So again, verses 3 through 6, notice these this very evil and wicked mindset that is described. The wicked one boasts about his own cravings. He is greedy. He despises Yahweh. He's scheming. He's arrogant in what he thinks. He thinks he's always secure, never has to worry about anything. He scoffs at adversaries. He says, I will never be moved. It is just 3 through 6. If it was going to be summarized in just a single word, I would say arrogance. It shows the arrogance of the wicked person, and it's all built around what is said in verse number 4. The wicked person arrogantly thinks there's no accountability since there's no God. He lives as if there is no God. I think that's the main point here. I don't think that this ancient Near Eastern individual actually thinks there is no God, because that was just very rare at that time. Everybody believed in a deity of some sort. But the way he behaves as if there's no God, is by him acting as if God is not going to hold anything accountable. Because even if somebody believed that there was a God, if they continue to behave in a way that is contrary to the will of that God, then though they might again think that there is a God, practically speaking, they're acting like an atheist. They're acting like their actions have no consequences. And that's the way this person is behaving. They are behaving as if their actions have no consequences, and that is a result of a mindset that is built upon arrogance. So, of course, that's not good. This type of attitude in reference to Yahweh is no good and is very detrimental to the well-being of any individual person. But so is the way that this person treats their fellow man. beginning verse number 6, cursing, deceit, violence, trouble, malice, waiting in ambush, killing the innocent, looking out for the helpless. And that's not looking out as in helping, but looking for someone to take advantage of, lurking, seizing, dragging, oppressing, beating down. All of these are words. They're all verbs here that are being used to describe this person's actions toward their fellow man. They have no care, no concern, no love for those who are also made in God's image. All of this evil comes from this type of person. So then we get to verse number 11, and he says to himself, this is the wicked person still. God has forgotten. He hides his face will never see. I'm going to do whatever I want to, and nobody's going to stop me. Again, that's the mindset, the attitude that fuels this wicked behavior of this evil person. So then the author sees this, sees verses 3 through 11, and then turns back to God and has this request of God. Rise up, Yahweh God. Lift up your hand. Do not forget the oppressed. Do not forget the oppressed. See what is going on here. See how the oppressed are killed, seized, dragged, beaten down. See how they suffer. And then also see how the wicked person despises you in doing these things. How he says to himself, God, you will not demand an account. Look at the arrogance, Yahweh. Look at the complete disregard for your law. But here's the turn then. Here's the reversal within the psalm. You yourself have seen trouble and grief, observing it in order to take the matter into your own hands. Remember that the mindset of the evil person is God doesn't see, that God doesn't know what's going on. He's not going to do anything about it. He's passive. He actually is passive in everything that's going on. I mean, that's the way that the author frames this. The author, through his human lenses, sees God as if he is passive. And that's how the wicked person in his arrogance behaves, as if God is passive. But the author actually knows you yourself have seen. You have observed it. And the helpless person, he can entrust himself to you. Because here's an important truth from this psalm. The end of verse number 14. You are a helper of the fatherless. You are. That is a very confident statement by this author. This author who, again, let's remind ourselves at the beginning of the text says, why do you stand so far away? Why are you passive? Why do you not help in times of trouble? But in reality, he knows God does. He knows that God does help the helpless, but the other side of the coin of God's justice, again, another parallel theme to Psalm number 9, the other side of God's justice is the fact that he breaks the arm of the wicked, evil person, and he does so until wickedness can be looked for, but won't be found. Again, another parallel theme from Psalm number 9, specifically verse number 5, you have erased their name forever and ever. The enemy has come to eternal ruin. You have uprooted the cities, and the very memory of them has perished. So that is the confidence of the author here, that God, number one, does see and does observe. Number two, he is a helper of the fatherless. And number three, then, he is someone who holds wicked people accountable and will bring punishment upon them at the right time. So then here is the conclusion and the proper realization of the author. Yahweh is king forever and ever, and the nations will perish from his land. Again, another theme from Psalm number 9 echoed here. Yahweh, notice these things. We saw in verses 7 through 10, we see the verbs there of what the evil person does. Here are the verbs that are attributed to Yahweh. Again, you have heard, you will strengthen, you will listen, and you will do justice. These are all polar opposites of what the evil person does. The evil person has no compassion for those he hurts. The evil person just seeks to weaken. The evil person does not do justice, but carries out wickedness. But God, on the other hand, again, hears, strengthens, listens, and carries out justice. What a great God he is. What a compassionate and loving God he is, especially for those who are fatherless and those who are oppressed. And he does this to the extent that mere humans from the earth may no longer terrify them. Why? Well, because they see the matchup here. They see the matchup. Who are they going to have more concern for? Are they going to have more concern for mere humans whose power is very limited, or for the great and awesome God whose power is unlimited, who is just in every way and will hold the wicked, evil person to account? Who will we turn to? Again, mere humans and limited power, or the great God with unlimited power? I think we understand then that the answer is very obvious. We should focus much more on our great God. So yeah, we think about the celebration of God's justice in Psalm number 9, and it makes sense that that comes into play here in Psalm number 10 as well, because it can be very easy for us to be like the author, to be so focused on the wicked and evil people around us and everything that they seem to be getting away with, that we become distraught, that we become distracted, and that we begin to think that God is so far away and that God doesn't see it or God doesn't care and he's not going to do anything about it. It's very easy for us to get distracted by evil, but let's not forget. And let's remember what the author here remembers. Let's come to the same realization that he comes to, that God does see, that God does observe, and that his justice is absolute. He will uphold the righteous. Again, paralleling from Psalm 9, and he will very much punish the wicked. Praise God for his incredible justice, for his righteousness, and for his faithfulness, that evil people will be brought to justice in the end. Praise him for these wonderful truths. If you have any questions or comments about Psalm number 9, please feel free to leave that in the comments, or excuse me, Psalm number 10. If you have any questions or comments about Psalm number 10, please feel free to leave that in the comments section below. And I appreciate you taking some time reading along with me today on this Monday. Everyone, please stay warm, please stay dry, and may God bless you until we hopefully see each other again on Wednesday morning for our read of Psalm number 11, one of my favorite Psalms. Very much looking forward to reading that along with you on Wednesday morning. Take care and God bless.